Hi everyone, my name is Teresa Jurgens and thank you for reading along with the Innovation Process book. In this episode, episode 15, we are covering the second half of chapter 9, Phases and Tools for Scrum New Product Development, also known as NPD, and this is in part 2 of the book Agile NPD Process. Scrum ceremonies. There are several specific meetings in Agile NPD processes that are important for work to advance. Some of these ceremonies are critical for multiple ongoing projects that must be integrated to launch a large, complex product. Because Scrum focuses on time-boxed events more than other Agile processes, a cadence of work is established and driven by the sprint length. An illustration of Scrum time-boxed meetings is shown in Figure 9.5. Note this is not to scale. Most Scrum teams fix the length of a sprint for the duration of a project. Some Agile and most hybrid NPD processes allow fluctuation in the length of a sprint to account for varying task complexity throughout the life of a project. The cadence of ceremonies is not changed by the length of the sprint, but the length of a meeting should be adjusted for the length of the sprint, except for the daily stand-up meeting. Sprint planning meeting. For a 4-week sprint, the sprint planning meeting is scheduled for 4 hours. Recall that the product owner, Scrum Master, and Scrum team participate in the sprint planning meeting. The purpose is to identify the highest priority features for the product backlog, which can be completed during the upcoming sprint. Product owners answer questions during the sprint planning meeting to clarify the user stories. Planning poker or another estimation tool is used to determine the scope of effort for the selected user stories, and the team commits to completing a given number of items from the prioritized product backlog. These items are listed on the Scrum board, sprint board, as to do, and the scale of the effort is documented on the burn down chart, often as relative story points. As the sprint progresses and the development team completes work, the remaining story points decrease with a goal of 0 residual points at the end of the sprint. Daily stand-up and Scrum board. Previously, the daily stand-up was described as a short meeting at the start of each workday. The Scrum Master notes progress on project tasks and what actions are needed to remove impediments or obstacles for the team. During the 15-minute stand-up meeting, team members address what work they completed the prior day and what they plan to work on during the upcoming day. The key focal point and artifact for the group is the Scrum board. An example of a Scrum board is shown here in Figure 9-6. A Scrum board is set up at the beginning of a sprint with the tasks and primary team contact for the selected user stories. The product description and sprint goals are included on the Scrum board to provide guidance and focus for the team. Sprint goals should be measurable, and the completed feature can be actively demonstrated during the sprint review meeting. Impediments and obstacles discussed during the stand-up meeting are listed as blockers on the Scrum board. A primary responsibility of the Scrum Master is to eliminate roadblocks facing the team. Burn down chart. A key component of the Scrum board is the burn down chart. At the sprint planning meeting, the development team commits to completing 1 or more features, and the scale of these is represented by the story points. A burn down chart plots the total number of story points to be completed during the sprint on the y-axis, while the number of days in the sprint are shown on the x-axis. The estimated completion of tasks and the actual completion of tasks are plotted on the burn down chart for a quick view of the project status. In Figure 9.6, there are 10 days in the sprint, and the team is meeting on day 7 of the sprint. An estimated 36 story points were agreed upon between the product owner and Scrum team during the sprint planning meeting. With no other information available at the beginning of a sprint, a linear estimate assumes that risks and user stories and tasks are completed equally throughout the project duration, or 3.6 story points per day in the example. At day 7, the team has completed work so that 20 story points remain. Tasks 1, 4, and 5 were shown incomplete on Figure 9-6. Figure 9-7, shown here, is the burn down chart at the end of the 10-day sprint. At this point, there are still 12 story points remaining, indicating that not all the tasks and user stories were completed during the sprint. The incomplete user stories are added to the sprint backlog and must be completed during the next sprint. During the next sprint planning meeting, the development team must include these incomplete tasks and the effort required to finish them. Scrum Masters are responsible for evaluating project metrics during the sprint retrospective. Sometimes there is a legitimate reason for falling behind during one sprint, and the tasks can be completed during the next sprint. With recurring incompletions, however, the Scrum Master must consider whether too many user stories are agreed upon during the sprint planning meeting, or if estimates are incorrect and inaccurate. The Scrum Master must intervene with continuous learning and experimentation, especially during initial sprints, to ensure that overall release dates are met. For a 4-week sprint, the sprint review meeting is time-based to about 4 hours. With this time box during the sprint review meeting, the product owner will view a demonstration of features and approve of the design in line with the acceptance criteria for the given user stories. Typically, the product owner, representing the voice of the customer, the Scrum Master, and the development team attend the sprint review meeting. Occasionally, extended team members are invited to attend the meeting to observe demonstration of features or products for release. Sprint retrospective. While in practice it is often skipped, the sprint retrospective is crucial for the team to learn from previous work and adapt future efforts. The length of the sprint retrospective is about the same as the sprint planning or sprint review meeting relative to the length of the sprint. Retrospectives are attended only by the Scrum Master and Scrum team to identify improvement opportunities for team collaboration and working practices. Because retrospectives are held at the conclusion of each sprint, learning is incorporated quicker than in traditional lessons learned reviews, which are usually held only when projects are completely finished. There are 2 portions to a retrospective: how the team is working together and how to improve value delivery. A symptom of problems in both arenas is manifested through late delivery and late deliverables. When the sprint backlog is growing with each sprint, serious issues need addressing. The Scrum Master must lead the development team to identify problems and then work with the team to implement improvements. How the team works. Many existing team building techniques can help develop a team and help them to work together better. Building effective cross-functional teams starts with individual self-awareness. A recognition of how individual team members work with others and understanding their preferred work styles can improve communication, reduce conflicts, and increase collaboration. We recommend a work style assessment like DISC, D-I-S-C, to encourage self-reflection and further conversations on the best way for the development team to work. Additional objectives for the team to examine during a retrospective include the following. Best practices. What things should the team continue during the next sprint and throughout the project? Process improvements. What are things that the team should start doing? Problems or bottlenecks. What things should the team stop doing to improve the flow of work? Delivering value. During a retrospective, the Scrum Master is responsible for value delivery of the product. In most cases, the retrospective will involve a discussion of why tasks or items have failed to the sprint backlog and how to adjust people or processes to avoid missing deliverables in the future. Several artifacts are useful during the sprint retrospective to determine value, including the list of features to develop on the prioritized product backlog, the sprint backlog, and the burn down chart. Additional team performance metrics include key measures of development efficiency, such as velocity and cycle time. Velocity. Number of story points completed in the sprint. Measured over several iterations, the average amount of work completed in a sprint can be forecast more accurately. If there is a sudden decline in velocity, a problem needs to be addressed. Cycle time. The time between the end of the task or process and the start of it. Lead time. Similar to cycle time, but includes the waiting time before the item is started until it is delivered. An important lead time measure is the time between a customer request and delivery to the customer. Value delivered. Typically a monetary measure, such as return on investment, but can include metrics such as number of new users, cost savings, and so on. Estimation variance. Number or percentage of deviations between the estimated effort and the actual time spent on the tasks during the sprint. Escaped defects. An incorrect or inaccurate product release means that additional effort must be expended in future work for bug fixes. A large number of defects passing through an agile development process indicate the system, including testing before release, is not functioning well. Customer satisfaction. Often the Net Promoter Score is used to validate customer satisfaction and is beneficial when measured repeatedly over a longer period of time. Additional ceremonies for Scrum. Most of the ceremonies, rituals, and tools for Scrum are built into the sprint cadence. Because Scrum uses small teams of just 6 to 10 people for each development activity, higher level oversight is crucial for more complex projects. Business planning meetings with operation leaders are used to bridge among incremental products, overall business goals, and periodic product releases. These meetings are used to align product roadmaps with organizational strategies and resource needs. Customer and marketing inputs are gathered to drive high-level prioritization of product needs. In traditional product development, these activities are identified with product portfolio management. Thank you for reading along in episode 15. Our next episode will cover chapter 10, Implementation of Agile New Product Development. Again, you can get a copy of the Innovation Process book by scanning the square QR code to get to Amazon and get a Kindle copy or a paperback copy. I do recommend the paperback copy because there are so many figures. I think you'll want to keep this book around for reference. We have a class, an online in-sync class starting August 12th, 2025, where we're going to cover information in this book as well as help you to customize your processes. It's a 6-week course. Week 1 covers waterfall or stage gate processes. Week 2 covers Agile and Scrum processes. Weeks 3 and 4 cover WAGIL, hybrid new product development processes, and then weeks 5 and 6 cover lean new product development. You can join the class with the URL on the screen. And finally, there's also the QR code in the circle, which allows you to access more information on the Innovation Process book. Thanks for joining me in this episode.